Wait, what's happening?
With regular rhythmic beats, the mop struck the marble floor. This lobby had been cleaned 1,000 times by Marion. Her favorite shift was 2 a.m. because there were no executives to ignore her or security personnel to keep an eye on her in case she stole the imported plants. The smell of industrial-grade bleach, the echo of her own breathing, and her alone. She didn't exist, just the way she wanted it. Until the doors of the elevator opened. 6 men came out. Pricey sneakers. Silence is dangerous. The men that cause the air to pause its breath. Marion gripped the mop handle with frozen hands. At 2 a.m., she was aware of who was walking these corridors. She had been warned not to look. No sound. Not them in particular. The man in the middle was dressed in a black suit that most likely cost more than her whole wage for the year. In equal parts beautiful and scary, his face was carved from stone. Kale, the king of ice, the most dreaded mafia boss in Seoul. Marion's eyes fell to the ground. Avoid looking. Hold your breath. Don't exist. The sound that broke everything, however, came next. Wheelchair wheels whirring gently on marble. Marion murmured, "Cindy, no," as her heart stopped. While Marion was working, her 7-year-old daughter rolled out from behind the janitor's closet, where she had been sleeping. Cindy shouldn't have been here. If the supervisor found out, Marion would be fired right away. However, Marion didn't have the money for childcare, and Cindy was skilled at remaining silent and unnoticed. At least not tonight. Cindy's wheelchair rolled directly at the 6 men with guns, right in front of Kale. "Cindy, stop!" Marion's terrified voice broke. Cindy, however, persisted. She pushed herself forward with power she shouldn't have had, as her tiny fingertips clutched the wheels. The youngster that had been silent for 2 years. The girl who was left handicapped, terrified, and quiet, after being broken by a drunk motorist. The bodyguards of Kale grabbed their firearms. Cindy then grinned as she stared up at the Ice King, the monster whose name made grown men cry, and the guy who had slaughtered 17 people in one night. "Dad," she said in a voice as raw and untrained as a rusted door finally opening. "You came back." There was silence in the lobby, not the quiet of tranquility. The sound of a grenade's pin being pulled. Kale's face remained unchanged. However, the hand that was aiming for his pistol stopped in mid-stride. He gazed at the wheelchair-bound child, as if she were a ghost, as if she were an impossibility. "What did you say?" He could hardly be heard speaking, deadly. Tears filled Cindy's eyes. "Dad, I knew you would return. I was certain that you remembered me." Marion was exhausted. Her mop clattered to the floor as she fell to her knees. "Please, she's unwell, sir. She is unsure of her own words. Please don't harm her." Kale turned to look at Marion. She saw something in that instant that frightened her more than his reputation ever could. Recognition. No, not acknowledgement. Necessity. "Who is she?" With a dangerously quiet voice, Kale inquired. "My daughter." Marion stumbled. "Cindy. 2 years ago, she was involved in an accident. Since then, she has not spoken. Why 2 years ago, I don't know." Like a prayer, Kale said the words again. "Or a curse." He tightened his jaw. 2 years ago, my daughter passed away. Automobile bomb. Her age would have been 7. Marion let the air out of her lungs. Kale crouched before Cindy's wheelchair. The child's cheek was lightly caressed by his hand, which was smeared with the blood of innumerable foes. "Impossible," one of the bodyguards whispered in Korean, as Cindy leaned into his palm as if she had done it 1,000 times before. Kale, however, was not paying attention. Marion had never seen a man's face look like the one he was staring at Cindy. "I hope." Sadness. Desperation. Suddenly he addressed the youngster softly. "What's your name?" "Cindy," she muttered. "But you used to call me your little warrior," he said loudly. "Do you recall, Dad?" Kale's breathing became labored. His eyes grew glazed. "Hana was the name of my daughter. I gave her a call." His voice broke as he stopped. "I called her my little warrior." Marion's world swung around. Kale jerked to his feet and faced his soldiers. "Take them both." Marion stumbled to her feet, saying, "No. Please, we don't exist. Nothing caught our attention. Let's go." You don't understand." Cale's eyes had changed from ice to fire as he gazed at her. "That kid is aware of stuff that shouldn't be known. She repeated things I told my daughter the night before she passed away. Either that or this is the most intricate scam I've ever witnessed." His words trailed off to a whisper as he hesitated. "Or God sent me back the one thing I thought I'd lost forever." His fingers snapped. Marion and Cindy were approached by 2 bodyguards. Cale responded, "You're coming with me, though. You two. You'll remain at my house. You won't go. They'll be watching you all the time. You won't survive to see the 8th day sunrise if this is a ploy for my luck." His voice broke as he said, "And if this is real, if there's even a chance this is real, I will burn down anyone who tries to take her from me again." Marion felt her heart thumping hard against her chest. "Don't be scared, Mom," Cindy whispered, her little hand reaching for Marion's as she turned to face Cindy, who was truly grinning for the first time in 2 years. "Dad's gonna keep us safe now." Marion was unsure if her daughter had gone insane, or if she had simply led them both to the most dangerous guy in Seoul. Marion, however, was unsure if she was entering a slaughterhouse or a refuge as the bodyguards led them to the black SUV that was waiting outside. The invisible janitor was invisible no more. And here's what you need to understand. Cindy calling Cale Dad wasn't random. The car bomb that killed Cale's daughter? Not random. Marion working in that building, on that night, at that exact hour? Not random. Someone orchestrated this. And when you find out WHO and why, you're going to realize this isn't just a story about a janitor and a mafia boss. It's a story about revenge disguised as a miracle. So here's what you're gonna do. Hit subscribe. Smash that like button, like Cale's about to smash his enemies. And drop your country flag in the comments globe so I know where my global family is watching from. The car bomb exploded at 7:43 p.m. on a Tuesday. Cale's wife died instantly incinerated before she could scream. His 7-year-old daughter Hannah was thrown 20 feet from the wreckage, her small body crumpled against a dumpster like a discarded doll. The paramedics said it was a miracle she survived the blast. The doctors said she'd make it through surgery. They were wrong. Hannah's heart stopped at 9:30 p.m. The surgeons worked for 47 minutes trying to restart it. Cale watched through the observation window, his hands pressed against the glass, begging God for a trade, his life for hers, his soul for one more chance to tell her he loved her. God didn't answer. Something deep within Cale had shattered as he left Seoul Memorial Hospital. The beloved father calcified into something ruthless and terrible, and the elders witnessed it all in real time. During the funeral, he did not cry, didn't say anything, simply stood in the rain, silently promising the dead while gazing at 2 coffins. The Jade Syndicate eliminated 17 members in 30 days. Erased but not murdered. Their loved ones were delivered to their families in fragments, in unlabeled boxes with the word justice etched on the lid. He was renamed the Ice King by the underworld, the man who used permafrost in place of his heart. Cale lived in a freezing wasteland of violence and emptiness for 2 years. His dominion grew, destroyed competitors, earned millions. However, he never grinned. I never laughed. He only ever experienced the ghostly feeling of his daughter's hand leaving his. Right up till tonight. That is, until 2 in the morning, a 7-year-old girl in a wheelchair pushed across a corporate lobby, gazed at him through the eyes of his deceased daughter, and whispered, "Dad, you returned. Exactly as you said." Cale's entire world swung, because every morning when he returned from business trips, Hannah would say to him, "You came back, just like you promised." Words no one else knew. Words this stranger's child shouldn't possibly remember. Unless, no, impossible. But as Cindy reached for his hand, Cale felt something he thought had died with his daughter, hope. And in the shadows of the lobby, someone watched them both and smiled. The real game was just beginning. With his gun pushed against Marion's temple, Cale declared, "You have 7 days to prove this isn't a scam. 7 days to explain how your daughter knows things only my dead child would know." Marion's tone faltered. "You'll have time to sort it out after that." "Sir, I swear, I don't understand this either. In my home, armed guard, so I can constantly observe you." He had glacial eyes. "Either God sent me a miracle, or this is the most complex fraud I've ever come across. What if it's a fraud? He bent in. I'll make your death last weeks. They were driven to a stronghold that was camouflaged as a house by the SUV. It had 20-foot walls, armed guards every 30 feet, and cameras that followed them everywhere. The head housekeeper, Mrs. Choi, gave them a harsh greeting. In shaky English, Mrs. Choi murmured, "You no leave room without permission," as she led them to the Rose Suite, a gilded prison with silk bedding and bulletproof glass. "You are hazardous, according to Master Kyle. Perhaps you are a witch. Perhaps you are a woman con artist." Marion looked around the suite for escape routes when she left. No one was found. She did discover a tiny piece of paper in the bathroom, concealed under a loose tile. The writing was desperate and frantic. "Get out while you can." The last woman WHO claimed to know Hana didn't survive the week. He killed her himself when he realized she was lying. Don't make the same mistake. Marion's blood turned to ice. That night, Cindy woke up screaming, not from nightmares, from memories. "Mom, I remember things," she sobbed. "Things I shouldn't know. There was a man. He showed me pictures, made me repeat words over and over in a dark room. He said if I didn't learn them perfectly, he'd hurt you." Marion's heart stopped. "What man? When?" "After the accident. At the hospital. When you thought I was sleeping." Cindy's eyes were terrified. "Mom, I think someone put these memories in my head. I think someone wanted me to meet Kale." A soft knock interrupted them. Kale's voice, deadly quiet. "I heard screaming. Open the door. Now." Marion looked at her daughter's terrified face, at the warning note in her hand, at the locked door. Whatever was happening, they were trapped in the middle of it, and someone, somewhere, was pulling all the strings. Marion opened the door. Kale stood there, still in his blood-stained shirt from earlier. His eyes were haunted, desperate. "What did she say?" "I heard her mention the hospital." Before Marion could answer, Cindy spoke. "I remember a tiger. A stuffed tiger named Mr. Stripes. He lived on my bed and protected me from nightmares." The color drained from Kale's face. "How do you know that name?" "Because you gave him to me," Cindy said simply. "For my 5th birthday. You said every warrior needs a protector." Kale's legs gave out. He sank to his knees, eye level with Cindy's wheelchair. "Mr. Stripes was Hana's favorite toy. I buried him with her. No one outside my family knew that name." He grabbed Marion's shoulders. "Who told you? Who gave you that information?" "I don't know." Marion pulled away. "But Cindy just told me something you need to hear. Someone at the hospital. A man. He showed her pictures, made her memorize things after the accident." "Hypnotherapy," Kale breathed. "Someone planted these memories. Someone who knew about Hana, about Mr. Stripes, about our private moments." His expression turned lethal. "Someone inside my organization." He pulled out his phone, barking orders in Korean. Within minutes, his head of security arrived with a tablet. "Boss, you need to see this." The man's hands shook as he showed Kale surveillance footage. Hospital parking lot. 2 years ago. A man in a dark suit, entering the building at 3 a.m. The same night Cindy was admitted after her accident. Kale zoomed in on the man's face, and his blood ran cold. "Elder Song," he whispered. "My most trusted advisor." The footage continued. Elder Song, leaving the hospital 4 hours later, carrying a briefcase. Meeting another man in the shadows. Exchanging money. Marion leaned closer. "That's him. That's the man, from the photos in your file. Zhao Chen." Kale's jaw clenched. "The Jade Serpents, and my own elder, are working together. They didn't just plant memories in Cindy." He looked at Marion, his eyes blazing. "They orchestrated her entire accident. They've been planning this for 2 years. Planning what?" Before Kale could answer, every light in the mansion went out. Emergency alarms shrieked. And through the darkness, gunfire erupted from the East Wing. The attack had begun. Before we continue, hit subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comments where in the world you're watching from. I believe this story found you today for a reason.
We have to go now.
Wait, what's happening? We have to hurry!
I know, stay close.
They're right behind us!
Stay down. Kale shoved Marion and Cindy behind the bed as bullets shattered the Rose Suite windows. He moved with lethal precision, grabbed his backup gun from the nightstand, returned fire through the broken glass. 3 attackers dropped from the garden wall. How many? Marion gasped. Too many. Cale's face was grim. This isn't a raid. It's an execution. They're trying to wipe us all out tonight. He grabbed his phone. Dead. Communications cut. There's a safe room in the West Wing, he said. Reinforced steel. Independent power. We can. An explosion rocked the building. The West Wing erupted in flames. Scratch that. Cale grabbed Cindy's wheelchair. New plan. The old servant tunnels. They run under the mansion, built during the Korean War. Most people don't even know they exist. How do we get there? Through the kitchen. But we have to move now. They ran. The hallways were chaos. Guards fighting intruders. Smoke filling the air. Bodies on the marble floors. Marion tried to shield Cindy's eyes, but the little girl had already seen too much. Dad, Cindy whispered as they ran. Hannah saw something like this. The night she died. Fire and smoke and people screaming. Cale's step faltered. What? She was conscious after the bomb. For 3 whole minutes. She saw the men who did it. Cindy's voice was distant, dreamy, like she was remembering someone else's memories. One of them had a scar shaped like a crescent moon on his neck. He was smiling. Laughing. He said, "Tell your father the serpents always collect their debts." Cale stopped running. Hannah was conscious. The doctors said. The doctors lied. Came a voice from the shadows. Elder Song stepped out of the smoke, gun raised. Behind him, 5 armed men. She lived for 3 minutes and 47 seconds after the blast, Song said conversationally. Long enough to identify every man involved. Long enough to become a liability. He smiled. So I paid the surgeon to accidentally administer too much anesthesia. Made it look like her injuries were just too severe. Marion's stomach turned. You killed her. I saved the organization, Song corrected. Cale's father stole from the serpents. We made a deal. His son's family dies. The debt is paid. Simple business. Cale's gun rose, trembling with rage. You murdered my daughter. I did what you were too weak to do. I put the organization first. Song gestured to his men. Kill them. All 3. No survivors this time. The gunmen raised their weapons. Cindy screamed. And then the world exploded in gunfire. But not from Song's men. From above. Mrs. Choi stood on the 2nd-floor balcony with a rifle, picking off Song's guards with surgical precision. 4 men dropped before they could return fire. "Run, you fools," she shouted in Korean. Cale didn't hesitate. He grabbed the wheelchair and sprinted for the kitchen, Marion running beside him. Behind them, Elder Song roared in fury. They crashed through the kitchen doors. Cale shoved aside an industrial oven, revealing a hidden panel. He yanked it open. Stone steps led down into darkness. Go! He practically threw the wheelchair down the stairs. Marion caught it, her muscles screaming. Cale followed, slamming the panel shut, just as bullets tore through the kitchen door. The tunnel was pitch black. Damp, smelling of earth and decay. Where does this lead? Marion whispered. 3 exits. 1 to the gardens, compromised. 1 to the garage, also compromised. Cale pulled out a small flashlight. The 3rd comes out in the old cemetery, half a mile from here. If we can reach it. Cindy's voice cut through the darkness. He's coming. I can hear him. She was right. Footsteps above. Scraping sounds. Someone had found the panel. Move. Fast. Cale pushed them forward. They ran through the tunnels. Marion's lungs burned. The wheelchair wasn't made for this terrain. She had to half carry it over rocks and debris. Behind them, Elder Song's voice echoed. You can't run forever, Cale. I know these tunnels too. I helped your father build them. They reached a fork. Cale hesitated. Which way? Marion gasped. I don't remember. My father only showed me once, when I was 12. Dad. Cindy's voice was strange. Distant. Hannah remembers. She came down here once, playing hide and seek. Go left. Count 30 steps. There's a loose brick. Pull it. Secret exit. Cale stared at his daughter. This wasn't planted memories. This was something else. Something impossible. But he didn't have time to question it. He went left, counted 30 steps, found the loose brick, pulled. A hidden door swung open. Fresh air, moonlight, freedom. But standing in the cemetery, waiting for them with 50 armed men, was Zhao Chen. Hello, Cale, the serpent lieutenant said, smiling. We've been expecting you. The trap was perfect, and there was nowhere left to run. It's over, Zhao said, his men forming a circle around them. 2 years of planning, 2 years of waiting, and you walked right into it. Kale positioned himself in front of Marion and Cindy. If you want them, you'll have to go through me. Oh, we will, Zhao laughed. But first, I want you to understand something. That child, she's not special. She's not a miracle. She's a weapon we built specifically to destroy you. He pulled out a tablet, played a video. It showed Cindy in a hospital room, unconscious. A man in a white coat. Drive. Kim, the hypnotherapist, injecting something into her IV. Then headphones placed over her ears. A recording playing on loop. Hana's voice, talking about her life, her memories, her love for her father. 3 months of subliminal programming, Zhao explained. Every night while she slept, we fed her Hana's entire life story, made her believe those memories were her own. The human brain is fascinating. It can't tell the difference between implanted memories and real ones if the programming is good enough. Marion felt sick. You experimented on my daughter. We created a weapon, Zhao corrected. One designed to make the Ice King melt, to make him weak, vulnerable, distracted. And it worked. You fell in love with a manufactured ghost. Kale's face was stone. Doesn't matter, real or programmed. She's still my daughter now. How touching. Zhao raised his gun. Elder Song, kill the child first. Let him watch her die like he watched Hana die. Elder Song stepped forward. Weapon aimed at Cindy's head. Marion moved. Not away, toward. She launched herself from the wheelchair, tackling Elder Song with every ounce of strength in her janitor's body. They hit the ground hard. The gun went flying. Mom! Cindy screamed. Song threw Marion off, reaching for a backup weapon. Kale's shot took him in the shoulder. Then the chest. Then the head. Elder Song crumpled, dead before he hit the ground. Light them up. Zhao roared. 50 guns aimed at 3 people. But before anyone could fire, the cemetery exploded with counter gunfire. Mrs. Choi emerged from the shadows with 30 of Kale's loyal guards. The ones who'd survived the mansion attack. The ones who'd been waiting in reserve. You think I survived 3 gang wars by being stupid? She shouted in perfect English, her accent suddenly gone. I knew about Song's betrayal for weeks. You think I didn't prepare? The tide turned in seconds. Zhao's men scattered. Some surrendered. Most died. Zhao himself tried to run, but Marion, still on the ground, grabbed a fallen knife and threw it. It embedded in his calf. He went down screaming. Kale stood over him, gun pressed to his forehead. Any last words? Zhao spat blood. The serpents will never stop. There are more of us. Hundreds. You killed 1 head. 3 more will grow back. Then I'll kill those 2, Kale said coldly, and pulled the trigger. Before we continue, hit subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comments where in the world you're watching from. I believe this story found you today for a reason. The mansion burned for 3 hours before firefighters brought it under control. 14 of Kale's men dead, 23 wounded, 37 enemies eliminated. The authorities ruled a quote, gang dispute and quietly closed the investigation after Kale made several generous donations to the police commissioner's retirement fund. But the real damage wasn't the building. It was Cindy. She hadn't spoken since the cemetery, just sat in her wheelchair, staring at nothing, tears silently streaming down her face. The trauma, the doctor explained to Marion and Kale in the hospital hallway. She's witnessed extreme violence. The memories, whether real or implanted, they're fragmenting. Her mind is trying to protect itself by shutting down. Will she recover? Marion's voice broke. I don't know. The hypnotherapy has created neural pathways that mimic genuine trauma. She's grieving for a life she never lived, mourning a father she never had, except now she does have him. The doctor shook his head. It's unprecedented. We're in uncharted psychological territory. Kale stood silent, his fists clenched. That night, he sat by Cindy's hospital bed, holding her small hand. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm sorry they used you. I'm sorry I brought this violence into your life. I'm sorry you had to see what I really am, a monster who destroys everything he touches. Cindy's eyes focused on him for the first time in hours. "You're not a monster, Dad," she said quietly. "Monsters don't cry. They don't apologize. They don't love. I don't deserve your love." "Maybe not," Cindy squeezed his hand. "But you have it anyway. That's what family means. We don't love each other because we deserve it. We love each other because we choose to." Cale broke. Completely. He laid his head on her hospital bed and sobbed, 2 years of frozen grief finally melting. Marion wrapped her arms around both of them, and they cried together. Outside the room, Mrs. Choi stood guard. And in her pocket, she carried a file she hadn't shown anyone yet. DNA results, comparing Cindy's blood to samples from Hana's preserved umbilical cord. The results were impossible, scientifically impossible, but the data didn't lie. 99.7% genetic match. Somehow, against every law of nature, Cindy wasn't just carrying Hana's memories. She was carrying Hana's DNA. Mrs. Choi burned the file. Some miracles were better left unexplained. 3 months later, the new mansion was finished, smaller than the old one, more secure, less ostentatious. A home, not a fortress. Cindy's therapy was progressing. She'd stopped having nightmares about the cemetery, started laughing again, even made jokes about her 2 sets of memories, treating them like a superpower instead of a curse. "I'm like a computer with 2 hard drives," she'd explain to anyone who'd listen. "One's original Cindy. One's Hana DLC downloadable content. Both are me now." The therapist said it was a healthy coping mechanism. Cale just called it my daughter being brilliant. But Marion noticed things. Little things. The way Cindy would sometimes correct Cale's memories of Hana. "No, Dad. My favorite ice cream was strawberry, not vanilla." The way she'd know where things were in the new mansion despite never having seen the blueprints. "The safe is behind the bookshelf, 3rd panel from the left." The way she'd occasionally speak in perfect Korean despite never having lessons. "Mrs. Choi, could you please make those honey cookies? The ones with the sesame seeds that I used to love?" It should have been creepy. Instead, it felt like closure. Like Hana had found a way to come home. One night, Marion found Cale in what used to be Hana's bedroom, now Cindy's room, redecorated but with a few precious items preserved. Mr. Stripes sat on the shelf, recently recovered from the burned mansion. "Do you think it's really her?" Marion asked quietly. Cale was silent for a long moment. "I think," he finally said, "that whether it's reincarnation or genetic memory or just a traumatized child's brain creating meaning from chaos, it doesn't matter. Because Cindy is her own person. She deserves to be loved for who she is, not who she might have been." "That's very mature of you." "Mrs. Choi's been giving me therapy homework." He smiled. "Apparently murder everyone who hurts my family isn't a healthy coping mechanism." Marion laughed. "Shocking." Cale pulled her close. "Marry me. You already proposed. 3 months ago." "I said yes, remember?" "I remember. But I wanted to ask again, sober, calm, without anyone shooting at us." He cupped her face. "Marry me, Marion. Not because it's strategic, not because Cindy needs a family, but because I love you. Because you saw a monster and decided to stay anyway." "I didn't stay for you," Marion teased. "I stayed for the mansion." "We just burned down the mansion. The new mansion, much nicer." She kissed him. "Yes, you ridiculous man. Yes, I'll marry you. Again. Officially this time." The wedding was small. Just family. Just the people who'd survived the fire. Mrs. Choi officiated, having mysteriously acquired an online ministry license. Yuna was the maid of honor. Cindy was the flower girl, wheeling herself down the garden aisle with a basket of roses and the biggest smile anyone had ever seen. Cale wore a traditional hanbok. Marion wore her grandmother's wedding dress, carefully restored after being rescued from her old apartment. When they exchanged vows, there wasn't a dry eye in the garden. "I was dead before you," Cale said, his voice steady despite the tears. "A ghost wearing human skin. You brought me back to life. You and Cindy. You gave me a reason to be more than the monster I'd become. And I promise, I swear on everything I am, that I will spend every day trying to deserve the miracle you've given me." Marion's turn. "I was invisible before you. A janitor cleaning up other people's messes, just trying to survive. But you saw me. You saw Cindy. You made us matter. And I promise that I will never let you forget that you're more than your worst moments." that you're capable of love and joy and all the beautiful things you thought you'd lost forever. They kissed. Cindy cheered so loudly that birds scattered from the trees. And somewhere, in whatever place souls go between lives, maybe Hannah was cheering too. The wedding was small. Just family. Just the people who'd survived the fire. Mrs. Choi officiated, having mysteriously acquired an online ministry license. Yuna was the maid of honor. Cindy was the flower girl, wheeling herself down the garden aisle with a basket of roses and the biggest smile anyone had ever seen. Kale wore a traditional hanbok. Marion wore her grandmother's wedding dress, carefully restored after being rescued from her old apartment. When they exchanged vows, there wasn't a dry eye in the garden. "I was dead before you," Kale said, his voice steady despite the tears. "A ghost wearing human skin. You brought me back to life. You and Cindy. You gave me a reason to be more than the monster I'd become. And I promise, I swear on everything I am, that I will spend every day trying to deserve the miracle you've given me." Marion's turn. "I was invisible before you. A janitor cleaning up other people's messes, just trying to survive. But you saw me. You saw Cindy. You made us matter. And I promise that I will never let you forget that you're more than your worst moments, that you're capable of love and joy and all the beautiful things you thought you'd lost forever." They kissed. Cindy cheered so loudly that birds scattered from the trees. And somewhere, in whatever place souls go between lives, maybe Hannah was cheering too. One year later, Cindy took her first steps. Physical therapy had been brutal, painful, slow, but she'd refused to quit. "Warriors don't give up," she'd say, echoing words both Hannah and Kale had spoken. "We adapt." On the anniversary of Marion and Kale's wedding, surrounded by family, Cindy stood from her wheelchair. She took one shaky step, then another. Then she walked, truly walked, into her father's arms. Kale caught her, spinning her around, both of them crying and laughing. Marion watched her daughter dance, her husband smile, her family whole. It wasn't the life she'd planned. It was better, because sometimes the best families aren't born. They're forged in fire, built on impossible choices, and held together by love that refuses to die. The invisible janitor had become a queen. The Ice King had learned to feel again. And the little girl caught between two souls had learned she could be both and still be entirely herself. They were broken. They were healing. They were home. So there you have it. The janitor who saved the king. The daughter who carried two souls. The family built from ashes and miracles. Hit that subscribe button if you believe broken people deserve second chances. Drop your country flag in the comments globe. And tell me, do you think Cindy was really Hannah reincarnated, or was it all just mind games? Before we continue, hit subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comments where in the world you're watching from. I believe this story found you today for a reason.